I just have the squeakiest chairs in my podcast room. Hello, welcome to The Inadequate Mother on my completely inadequate chairs. And this is a rare occasion where I have a guest on my show. So are you someone that has a stepmom in your mix of people? Are you a stepmom yourself? Have you kind of broached the topic with your ex about another woman being in the picture? So I'm going to be doing a solo pod on this topic, but for today I'm going to be interviewing a wonderful woman called Lisa Quait, who has a remarkable story of raising 3 children that weren't biologically her own because she fell for a man, a widow, and they had lost their mom, and she has become the mother of the 3 children as well as her own. So I'm going to kind of ask her really interesting questions about how that looked, how she navigated teenageisms from somebody that isn't biologically theirs, how that felt emotionally, because I can only imagine the emotional and mental exhaustion that is behind raising teens that are yours, but raising teens that aren't biologically yours. Yeah, that's something. So let's get into it and let's have a talk with Lisa. Lisa.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
You're one of my first guests on here, and I'm excited for your story on how because you're quite experienced in your journey as a stepmom. Am I right? How long has it been?
Yeah. So I got married. I met my first husband in the millennium, 2000. We got married in 2004.
Okay.
And then I had my daughter in 2006. The marriage, unfortunately, broke down extremely quickly. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those scenarios where I had a lot of pressures. I'd just come back from traveling. I had all my friends were getting married, and I thought, I need to get married. Like, it's the next thing, isn't it? Right. So I had my job, gone traveling, come back. I need to start my life. I need to start being responsible and being a grown up. So unfortunately, myself and my previous husband, we were not right for each other at all. And I think we pretty much knew that. We came from very, very different backgrounds, very different places. But there was a kind of spark and a love there. And I think you do pursue that. But I do think that the pressures of, all my friends getting married around me did draw me into that, well, we need to get married and have kids now. I had always, as a kid, however, because my parents divorced when I was very, very young. So my mum's she's been married 3 times. So wow. I grew up in a house with step-parents. Right. And I really didn't want to be a step-parent, and I didn't want my child, whatever happened in my life, I was like, I am going to make my marriage work. It's going to be successful. I'm going to marry this man, whoever it is, and it's going to be amazing. Right? That obviously didn't happen. I think I was so caught up in that time was my enemy, and coming back, as I said, from traveling, and literally I had to start my life again. I had nothing. I had nowhere to live. I had no money. And when I met my first husband, I wasn't in a very good place.
But why did you not want to be a stepmom? Why did that had like this negative association?
It wasn't about me not being a stepmom. I didn't want my kids to grow up in a broken home.
Yeah, I think
it was more that, because I know that now my mum and my dad, my mum's first husband, they are the best of friends now, right? They're in their 70s. He pops around there for a cup of tea. They're such good friends. But my mum and dad got married when they were young. I think my mum had me when she was 22, 23. And they were just starting their lives. And when they broke up, there was lots going on there. And I was like, well, whose fault is it? Why have you broken up? Why have you split up? Why is there so much anger? Why is there so much hate between the two of you? And as a 3, I would think I was 2 or 3. And I remember it's just literally, it was going on in my head. Whose fault is it?
Yeah.
Whose fault is it? Is it mum's fault? Is it dad's fault? They're both saying to me things about each other. And I think, I didn't want my kids to have that. I just didn't want them to have that scenario. For me, the reasons why I ended the marriage, they were very, very valid reasons.
Yeah.
And I did it for my daughter and myself, if that makes sense, without going into too much detail. So, yeah. So when I got married, I think, it's sad, but I remember walking down the aisle thinking, I think I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. And I couldn't walk away from it. I just thought, because I knew in my heart something wasn't right. Something didn't sit right with me. But I just thought, this is all I'm good enough for.
Oh, really? That's
yeah.
Wow. So this is why you're doing an incredible podcast called, what's the name? Give us the details of that, because I know.
Yeah. So my podcast is called Real Women's Stories. And the podcast really came about because throughout my life, and I've had a very, very colourful life, I meet so many people and everyone's got a story to tell. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from. And I think always growing up, I was so curious. I wanted to know different people. I loved being in different environments. I didn't want to be one of these people that just had the similar friends. If I look back at all the different friends that I've got friends that I used to go raving with and clubbing with. I've got friends that I used to, when we used to club promote, they used to run clubs and manage clubs. I've got DJ friends. I've got friends that worked in the city. I've got my local friends, my school friends. And I was just really curious as a person. I've just always been interested in people and their stories. And that's really where the podcast came from, because I got to a point, I got to 50 and I thought, hang on a minute, there are so many different topics out there that people, and experiences that people have had that we should be talking about. And I do think that our own life experiences, we can learn and we can help each other. So going back to when I had really low self-esteem, which was the reason why my marriage broke down, really, because I made a wrong choice. I didn't make the right choice with the right person, because that person fell madly in love with me. And I was like, oh my God, this man loves me and it's all going to be amazing. But like I said, deep down in my heart, when I walked down the aisle on my wedding day, I thought, oh gosh, we're so different. Something didn't sit right. But I was determined to make the marriage work, because as I said, I thought, well, this is my life now. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make the best of what I've got. And the next thing was to have a child. And like I said, I never wanted my children to come from a divorced background, because I didn't want the backlash. I didn't want my kids to be hearing negativity from two sides. I wanted them to be brought up in a loving home with two parents in a stable environment. And then I think you kind of realise that life isn't like that all the time, is it?
You have got a stable environment for your daughter now, and you have a new marriage. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I split up with my first husband in 2007. My daughter was 18 months old, and I decided I was going to be a single mum. And I just thought I just had that wake up call, and I thought, I'm going to do this amicably. I'm going to make sure that she's looked after. And I had my husband, Adam. He is my older brother's best friend. So when I had broken up with my first husband, unfortunately, Adam had lost his first wife.
At the same time?
At exactly the same time.
Yeah.
Exactly the same time. It was it was very, very strange because he and I had always been friends. We grew up together. We've known each other. He was my neighbor. And
Oh.
yeah, it was my older brother. I flew out to Spain to spend some time with my older brother who lives there. And he said, listen, unfortunately, Adam's wife has just passed. I'm going to fly back to England for the funeral. And I said, well, I can't. I've just arrived as a single mum. It was just the
Wow.
I'd literally just broken off the marriage. And I said to my ex-husband, I'm going away. We've put the house on the market. When I get back, I'll sort everything out. But I had to, it was the best way to, for the two of us to have a clean space and headspace to kind of work out the divorce. So I did not go to the funeral, which
Do you regret now?
no, I think if I had gone, I don't think I would have got together with Adam. I don't think I could have
So
coped.
there's a reason.
I don't think I could have coped with seeing the trauma of the children and him on that day, because that would have stayed with me for the rest of my life. And I strongly believe there's a spiritual being up there.
Yeah.
Adam, when Adam and Joanne got engaged, I was in Thailand. They were out there. We had a group of friends, and it's actually quite bizarre talking about it. But I was there when they got engaged, and we were all celebrating their engagement. And I remember thinking, God, she's so lucky. He's such a great guy. He's amazing. He's such a good friend, and everyone loves him. He's a real cheeky chappy. She's going to have a great life with him. And so it those kind of moments are a bit weird. And it's a bit weird talking about it now, because when you look back on it, it does feel strange that I did. I was there the day they got engaged, and then obviously, unfortunately, she got really sick. And it was just, the most awful thing. It was terrible when he called us up and told us that she had pancreatic cancer, and they weren't sure if she was going to survive. Wow. Then I was going through my divorce with my first husband. I then flew out to Spain, and then Scott told us that she didn't survive. So so that was really, I guess, the story of me not being at the funeral. Yeah. And then Scott came back to Spain, and he said, listen, could you make sure you look after Adam? We've all grown up together, and we're, really good friends. You obviously couldn't go to the funeral because you just come out here and just started your divorce. And I said, of course I would. So Adam and I kind of rekindled a friendship, and through that friendship, we found love. We found a space where we respect each other, and it's been hard. It's been really hard. It's been tough because, and I'm going to call them my kids because we are a family now.
Because I don't think stepmoms get enough credit in terms of what it takes to be a stepmom and that role. It's just almost assumed as you're in that relationship and that's just a little bit of an add-on, but actually it's a massive choice. It's a massive role to be that significant mother figure in another. And my partners, my children have a stepmom, and it's happened quite naturally. But she takes on a big role in their life. And it's never really considered. But with you, there's the added layer that their mum has passed. So you've not only taken on a stepmom role, you've taken on a mother role. You're their mother. You've adopted them. Is that how you view it? As did you know that it was going to be like that in the beginning, or what role did you think you were going to play, and how did you feel about it? And
sure. So it was very, very difficult in the beginning, because when children have lost their mum and have gone through that, their lives are all upside down. They didn't have a bedtime routine. When your mum's in the house and she's, not well, Adam wasn't working because he had to look after Joanne. So I literally was coming in and going, right, you've got to go to bed at like 8 o'clock. And they're like, well, why? We don't go to bed till 11 o'clock at night. Dad's going back to work. Like we wait up for him. And I'm like, yeah, but you've got school in the morning. You need to go to bed. And they're like, really? So I had like young kids where I wanted a routine, and I know Adam wanted that for his kids. And he was going to go out to work, and I then had to come in and be like Mary Poppins and go, right, everyone, I'm going to clean up the house. Everyone's got to clear up their rooms before they go to bed. Bath time. No one's having sweet stuff. You've got to brush your teeth. And they're like, really? Really?
Was there ever a moment where they were like, who are you to tell me about this? Or was there a full acceptance of you?
There was no acceptance in the beginning. Even
from that young age.
Yeah, they had other people looking after them, helping, and family members. And I think because of the situation, everyone just let them do what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They had very little time left with their mum.
Yeah.
So there was no bedtime routine. There was nothing like that going on. And, I'm a very, very structured person. And so what Adam and I did, we went to a therapist, and she helped us navigate. Literally, we had to start afresh with the kids. So we had to put like a chart up in the house and say, right, you're going to get your treats or your rewards and your stars. We literally had to go back to basics. And it was really hard because I was like, who's she? She's the wicked stepmother coming in going, I've got to go to bed at time and on time. I can't do this. Yeah, I mean, they weren't vocally like that.
Yeah.
But you could feel it. It wasn't a great feeling for me, but I just knew this is what these kids need. No matter what they think of me, I know that this time will pass and we'll get to a point where, and it was very much taking things week by week by week by week. I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Adam, and that love kept us together. But being with the kids was hard. And also they didn't accept my daughter in the beginning.
Yeah, I can imagine the dynamic was quite, would have been a lot for kids to be able to get their head around and just to, roll with, and not, because they don't understand at that age. They have no kind of understanding of what security looks like. They just assume they have it. And then, I can imagine that was really hard.
What we did was we made sure, although I was the mother figure in the house, coming along and giving everyone a routine, Adam and I split our time with the kids. So at the weekends, he would spend time with the kids and I would spend time with my daughter. So even though we were together as a family, we still actually lived very dysfunctionally for quite a while, because we had
to. But that sounds to me very functionally like that sounds like a brilliant, if we were to get any tips off this episode, that to me is one of the golden nuggets that I think people don't realize. And my partner, he's had issues with girlfriends having kids, and then him not feeling like he could spend time with his kid, and him just wanting to have an alone time, but then they want to be all together as a family, but he actually, and then I think you have got to have that one-to-one connection with your own child as well, and then just develop it naturally together as a family rather than try and force it at the same time. So that's brilliant. I love that you did that.
It was really important, and it was important for them to go and see their family, and for me to go and see my family with my daughter. So we did pretty much, we lived together, but socially we did things apart until there was a time where we would start, okay, we're going to go on holiday together. And that was hard, like the first holiday as a family, because it was strange, because the kids had to share a room together, and we had to make sure that there weren't arguments. And as you know, as a step parent, it was a horrific holiday. It was the worst holiday of our lives. It was terrible. I will say this, and I think me being a step parent, it's probably a slightly different scenario because there wasn't another woman, if that makes sense. There wasn't another woman. So although I had to navigate the relationship with the kids not having their mum, I had a lot of help from the mums at school that would help me with the children. So because you know, you can imagine I'm going to pick up the kids from the school and I just get, oh, it's her. You know,
Really?
oh God, it was like
Really?
the dread that I had picking up the kids from school. Like the mums would be looking at me like, oh, she's the new woman in these kids' lives
Oh.
at the school gates. And, you know, when they came out of school, of course the kids didn't want me there. They wanted their mum or they wanted their grandma. You know, they didn't want their stepmum to be being there, who this other woman is. You are the other woman.
Yeah.
You have to understand that. And you have to have the strength, you know, and there were times, don't get me wrong, that I literally thought, I can't do this. And I just, you know, I was having panic attacks and thinking, oh my God, I've literally got to go and pick them up from school today. And they just hate me. They hate me. They don't want me there.
Oh.
And then I'm going to have to deal with everything. But then what I did was I made sure that they had friends over. You know, or they went to friends' houses and I spoke to the other mums and they were amazing. And I just said, look, I need some help with this. And they were like, we'll help you. So I would always make sure that there were kids around. So the kids were having their friends rather than me. So I was just mum. I was almost like, I think I probably literally imagine I was like Mary Poppins. I was like the nanny.
Yeah.
I was just like the nanny.
I'm sure you were a lot more than that. And this is, again, why I want this topic to be talked about more, is because, again, inadequate mothers, we don't really understand and give ourselves credit to what it is we're giving children, whether they're our own or whether they're flipping nieces or nephews or whatever. We're all raising these kids and we constantly criticize ourselves and we constantly think of ourselves as not enough. Or so I just listening to you, I'm like amazed, because I'll be honest, like I don't know if I could help raise someone else's kids. And I don't know if that's because I'm 18 years down the road in my mothering journey, but for me to get with someone, and I've dated men that have had kids, and that question in my mind's come up, and I'm like, could I take on that role as stepmom? And the selfish parts of me just go, I
think because Adam and I had a friendship from young.
Yeah, so that
helps. And I know I watched him go through the trauma of losing his first wife. And my heart was, these kids have lost their mum.
Of course, yeah.
They've lost their mum. And I'm not here to replace them, but I am not going to be another female figure that walks out of their life.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, I think that's why the question would just sit so heavily on me, because there is no way you would ever walk away from children that have lost their mum.
I think you have to, as well, as a step parent, you have to be flexible and you have to give up things.
Yeah.
You have to learn to give up things. You have to look after yourself, but you also have to learn that you're not always right. Yeah. There are other people's emotions and other people's feelings and other people's opinions. And even if I had, you know, an ex-wife in the background, I would probably have, I think in my mind, if there had been an ex-wife, I would have spoken to her and say, right, you tell me how you want me to be around your kids, and you tell me your routines, you tell me how you are, and let's see, like I did with Adam, let's see how we can align that together. Yeah. Let's see how we can find some kind of middle ground, that when your kids are coming to stay with us at the weekend, because normally kids live with their mums, not in all occasions, but if they're with me, what's their routine? What's their food like? What do you want? Obviously, I've got to have my life. But at the same time, I think it's about listening to what the other person, how they've brought up their children.
I love that. And I can't stress that enough to anyone who is in this scenario, because it is hard when another woman comes on the scene. My ex's new partner, she's never really had that conversation, but I've never really had to, because she's open, and I know that I could talk to her if there was an issue, probably more so than I could talk to their dad, because she was just, like you said, very respectful. And I just think it is about maintaining that respect.
You know what? I gave myself, I don't know why, but 10 years, I said to my husband, when we got through to our 10-year wedding anniversary, I said, if we can get to 10 years, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine.
Oh.
And it's going to be our 14th wedding anniversary next year. We've been together 16 years. And the time has just flown. I think years ago I brushed it off, but I am going to say that I am super proud of not just me. It's not just me. It's the whole family, because the kids have been through it. We've been through it, and everyone has stood strong. And I think the fact, I'd always said to the children, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never harm me. You can say whatever you want to me. You can call me fat. You can call me, because my maiden name was Gibbons. You can call me monkey. You can call me whatever you want. You can say I'm not your real mum. I said, but I am not leaving you, and I'm not leaving you, Dad. I am never going to leave you. So you can say what you want to me, but I'm not going. And I think because I was consistent, and they always say with kids when they're growing up, it's consistency. Keep on saying that you're reinforcing the positivity, reinforce the positivity. I just said, I'm not going anywhere. So do what you want, say what you want. I'm not going anywhere. And I think we formed a friendship, and a really lovely friendship. And I'm just so proud of where we've come on our journey, and that is testament to all of us. It's not just me.
Thank you for sharing this amazing story you've had.
That's okay.
And are you going to put it on your podcast? Because in terms of a real woman's stories, honestly, Lisa, you've got a few.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think we sort of come up with topics, and a lot of the people that I'm interviewing, I want to interview real people. Like someone said, are you going to get celebrities on? And yes, of course I would like to hear a celebrity story, because they do their own podcast. But I would want to hear a story, and I would want my audience to hear a story that no one knows about them, like going back to their childhood, but would I guess through people that I interview, I drip feed my story and I share that. But I'm a life coach. So, part of what I'm doing is because I'm a life coach, and people will have been through, similar experiences, and I can help them. That's really, I guess, the crux of what I want to do, with having been through my journey. And all the different stories that I've got to tell will help people through my coaching. So that's really where the podcast came from, because I'm a life coach, because of the stories. And then now I can help other people navigate their journey to look forward and be positive, because as we know, coaching is all about, I'm stuck here. How do I navigate a situation? I just need some support, and I just need somebody to talk to so I can work it out for myself and help me move forward in my life. So yeah, listen, if anyone listens to this and they're a step parent, I'd be more than happy to help them. Any step parent who is out there, you can make it work, but you also have to, like I said, you have to be willing to be flexible. You have to be willing to respect your partner and your partner's ex-wife or ex-partner. And you have to understand that it's not all about you. It's not all about you. You can have your time with your partner on your own, but when you are a step parent, you have to put on your parenting hat, and you have to be a flexible parent and understand that they're not biologically your children, and you need to understand their personalities. You need to understand what their mum or their dad wants for them, and you come to an agreement. There has to be some kind of, coming together and talking and relationship. And I get that sometimes it's not that easy, because there is a bit of angst between the two. But it's better off for the children that the two parents at least look like they're getting on and trying to understand each other and have respect for each other.
I think my full frontal
sentence that I try and put in the front of my head in any moment is the amount of people my kids have that love them in their life, the more the better. That's it. That's all you have to think. Like, if I love my kids, and if someone out there loves them and likes them and appreciates them, that's amazing. And I need to automatically love them. That's it. No judgment. I haven't got to know them. But if they love my kids, I automatically love them. That's it. And that's what I did from day one. And that's the only thing that I can recommend. But thank you, Lisa. And I hope that you go and you really, truly not only celebrate your daughter, but you celebrate yourself. Well done. And
Thank you.
I hope you have a really good day. And
thank you. And thank you very much for obviously chatting. You know, I've really enjoyed it. I don't get to be the guest so very often. So it's been great. It's been lovely. Thank you so much, Hayley. And I really hope the podcast goes well for you. And I'm sure you're going to be helping a community. So well done, you two. Well done. Okay. Women empowerment, hey? Woo!